Let's bring in our first guest and get his take on that. Our pleasure to welcome back to the show BYU's all-time leading scorer and BYUtv basketball analyst Tyler Haws, ahead of the BYU West Virginia game, which is on Saturday, February 3rd at 4 Mountain Time on ESPN Plus and BYU Radio. Tyler, what do you make of this whole horns down thing from the Marriott Center the other day?
Well, I think some of it, I go back to my playing days and all the stuff that I heard in my time, and I'm like, I think some of this stuff we got to just let go. College students are going to be college students, but hey, I get it. We want to, be respectful and win the right way. But I think everybody needs to calm down a little bit.
Amen. Amen to that. I'm trying to think. Did you ever play a game at Wyoming?
I did, yeah. My freshman year at Wyoming, at San Diego State.
At the pit? You played in the pit?
I played in the pit. I mean, there were some things said that are going to be hard to repeat.
Well, you don't have to repeat. I just know because I've broadcast games in all those places, right? And I played in the olden days in all those places. But the pit and Viejas in San Diego and the Dome of Doom, as they used to call it, in Laramie, those are tough. Those are tough places.
Utah State and Utah.
Right. The Spectrum's no easy place to go. Right? So,
oh my goodness.
Hey, one of our chat right off the bat says, as Maddie Floyd says, to ask you, Tyler, would BYU have beaten Utah State this year? And I know your father-in-law is a huge Utah State guy, right?
Yeah, we were just out to dinner with them the other night.
So Tyler's father-in-law is Alan Raymond, and he is a big Utah State guy. Played up there, like he loves Utah State, right?
So, what do you think of that matchup?
Well, it would be a very interesting matchup. Utah State has had a great season. I mean, Danny Sprinkle has those guys locked in. They just had a huge win at Boise State. That would have been a really, really fun in-state game this year. But hey, I got to go with the Cougs. The Cougs provide such a tough matchup with Khalifa at the top, and I don't know if they would have had an answer for that.
You know, they were going to play at the Delta Center,
right?
But BYU wasn't going to extend their series to where the Cougars would go to Logan. They don't need to go to Logan anymore. And then Utah State was kind of bent out of shape. They're like, well, then we're not going to do it at all. And we really missed out on a state tournament type atmosphere up at the Delta Center, which we would have had this year. But there was quite the atmosphere at the arena Saturday. A sold-out crowd against Texas, and fans saw BYU shoot 64% from the field, 41% from the three-point line, and a stunning 86.7% from the free throw line. What's your takeaway from Texas?
Man, yeah, there was a good portion of that game where, we were sitting in the studio looking at each other. BYU was shooting 74% for the game. We're like, how long can they sustain this? But just a total team effort. I mean, reminded us of the Iowa State game. These Big 12 teams, they make you beat them not once, twice, but like 3 or 4 times going down the stretch. They just keep coming back. And BYU just handled business on both ends of the floor, made the plays that they needed to, and kind of ran away with it. But I feel like that was a big turning point in the Big 12 for this team. They had some bumps in the road, had some games they should have gotten in the first 6, and so I feel like kind of a turning point for BYU. They discovered some things in that game that they've been trying to find. I think they finally have figured out a good flow with Khalifa and Foose, and finding a way to play with both of those bigs. What was really fun to watch. I've been waiting to figure out how to have Foose back in the rotation of things. I think he's such an asset to that team. Provides a different dynamic, and so be interesting to see how teams kind of adjust to that. It's always the cat and mouse game in whatever conference you're playing in, right? You're trying to stay ahead of game plans and things, but I think that 1-2 punch with Khalifa on the outside playing the back door, that passing game, and then Foose inside playing back to the basket. That will be really hard for teams to game plan against. And then you got all the shooters on the outside. I feel like BYU is kind of hitting their stride right now.
Tyler, you and I talked about this off the air the other day and on the air a little bit, but in this game against Texas, they said, we're not going to leave shooters. We're not going to help. So now Foose comes in the game, and BYU says, okay, you're going to be there on the catch on the perimeter. We're going to throw it into our guy and see what you do. And for the most part, they didn't double him at all.
Yeah.
Like they just said, we're going to define they have a 6'9" NFL caliber center that they're like, we think he can cover him. And Foose made it apparent that he couldn't. So if you're West Virginia now, and remember, West Virginia plays Cincinnati tomorrow night first, then they can focus on BYU. What do you do? Do you double Foose when he comes in the game and leave somebody on the perimeter? How do you even defend that at this point?
Well, yeah, I think you got to mix it up, right? I think you got to keep Foose guessing. Foose, he's so unselfish in the post. As soon as he sees a double, he's very willing passer, but he's going to try and bury that post in. And so I think you got to mix it up. You got to keep him guessing, and then you have to get out to shooters. BYU just is too good from so many guys, and they will make you pay. Do not let them get in a rhythm. I think the teams that have had some success, though, I mean, you look at Cincinnati, you look at Houston, some of these games where BYU struggled shooting, the guards did a really good job staying out to shooters, and then they mixed it up in the post. They didn't let guys get easy catches. We always talk about in the Haws house doing your work early. And the good defensive teams find a way to not let BYU get to the positions they want to be effective on the floor in the low post. Khalifa out up top. They just make everything really difficult. And so West Virginia, I know they're towards the bottom of the league, but they have some really good athletes and a really good guard line. And so, it'll be interesting. There's no nights off in the Big 12. And so expect to see some tough D from West Virginia.
BYU's all-time leading scorer, Tyler Haws, is on the Wise Guys tonight, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and ysguys.com. Top 3 scorers in program history. Number 1, Tyler. Number 2, Jimmer. Number 3, Danny Ainge.
Wow.
That's how that goes. 1, 2, 3. And someday you'll have to explain to your kids who's Danny Ainge and who's Jimmer, but you'll
know who Tyler
number 1.
is.
And I don't think anyone's going to get you.
I want to go sit at the Haws table one night when you got Marty and Tyler and TJ. You and I, Dave, got to be on set. You and I and Tyler and TJ.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. And TJ said something to us. I was like, I love that phrase when he said the ball finds energy. It's like the ball finds energy. That's why Richie Saunders is always getting 50-50 balls, because the ball finds energy, finds Richie because he's always got energy. Now, Tyler just laid on us, do your work early. That's a Haws statement around the kitchen. I just want to sit around and just take notes when those 3 are talking basketball at dinner.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who would be the one cracking the jokes. I'd like to think it's Tyler. Hey, we'll ask this question of our live streamers, too, and ask you, Tyler, who's the surprise player so far? Who would be number 1 on that roster that you would say is the surprise player through this stage of the season?
I think for me, it's been Ollie Khalifa. I know there was a lot of hype around him, but it took a while for him to kind of get integrated into this BYU team. And, one of the big question marks for me coming into the year was, obviously BYU had to cut down on turnovers. The season before they averaged up around 20 turnovers, but they wanted to improve 3-point shooting. That was a heavy emphasis in the offseason. And, playing against some of these high caliber teams, in my time, we played against a number of Big 12 teams. And I just remembered how tough it was to get a shot off. You had to work as a team to get good shots and get good looks. And so one of the question marks for me was, how is BYU going to be able to shoot that many threes and shoot them effectively? And because there's just going to be extended pressure. These big, strong guards are going to extend the pressure, make everything difficult. And I've been so surprised by how Khalifa has just alleviated that pressure. I mean, his passing ability, being able to, one, he's a threat from the outside. And so he pulls that rim protector out. But then, Trevin Nell, Spencer Johnson, Jackson Robinson, all these guys, they play this 2-man game with Khalifa, and even Noah Waterman, we saw it last game. I mean, if you go under that handoff or that little ball exchange, they just step back and shoot, and they force guys to trail them, and they get easy layups by curling off of that, cutting hard. And my game, when I played, it was so much about that cat and mouse game of keeping guys honest, right? And so I would have loved to play with a guy like Khalifa, because it would have allowed me to mess with my defender and keep him honest all the time. And I think this BYU guard line is having a lot of fun with that, with these over aggressive guards, and they've been able to make them pay. And the games that they do it right, it is so fun to watch. And I knew he was a good passer, but it's been a big surprise for me just how well he is fit into this BYU team.
You mentioned Noah Waterman. I swear, Dave and I still will sit there and go, where did this dude come from? Because he was here last year. Yeah, it's like he was here. This was not the same guy. Like, what? How can a player like Noah go from what he was, and he's clearly a role player and inconsistent last year, to where he's a big-time player in a big-time league that makes big-time shots? How does that happen in 1 year? What's the difference with him from last to this?
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff and what they did in the offseason and how they worked with him. And one of my favorite things about Pope when he was an assistant, when I was playing, was just talking through your mentality, talking through your focus, talking through how you're approaching the game, what you're seeing. And so, we all knew Noah was very talented, and he's the tallest dude on the team and can handle the ball, can shoot it from deep. And we saw flashes of it last year, but there was some inconsistency. But I remember talking with Nate Austin before the season, and I was like, hey, who's surprised you so far? And he's like, oh, it's by far Noah Waterman. He has made the biggest improvement out of anybody. And that totally took me back. I was expecting him to say some other guys, but it's been so fun to watch him. We here another Haws, philosophy thing. We talk about how your defense should fuel your offense, and I think going into a game, Noah does that, because there will be games where he scores 5 points, and then there'll be a game he scores 15 to 20 points, and it doesn't matter this year. His defensive presence, his rebounding presence is always there. And I think it's just been a mentality shift on his part to be like, okay, I'm not going to worry about the scoring. That will come, but I am going to be relentless on the boards. I'm going to have a presence defensively. I'm going to be locked into the game plan. And it's been really noticeable and fun to watch.
We look forward to the book coming out on things that the
Haws sayings, which I love.
Guys say at the house. Hey, we look forward to that.
Hey, John,
and the movie.
John, by the way, and I think John Tyler. He was saying, I think Tyler served in a mission in the Philippines. You did serve in the Philippines, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
Yeah. So
Philippines.
Did you speak Cebuano or did you speak Tagalog?
Tagalog, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right with Chase
So,
Roberts.
because we have, believe it or not, we actually have people in the chat that come in every week from the Philippines. So throw out a little, little line for them about BYU basketball in Tagalog.
Mahal ko ang BYU basketball.
There you go.
Sounds
BYU
good.
basketball.
Oh, nice.
Last question for you, Tyler, and we'll let you go. And softball coach Gordon Eakin is on deck here on the Wise Guys. 49ers and Chiefs will play for the Super Bowl a week from Sunday. Who do you got and why?
Well, we've got a lot of Taylor Swift fans in our house, all our little girls. And so, I kind of want to say the Chiefs and go with Andy Reid. And I do like Fred Warner. It's been fun to follow his career and cheer for him. But I've got to lean towards the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all the Swifties out there. I think we're going to go that way.
Going with the Swifties.
They do have a house full of girls at that house. I will vouch for that, so I could see it. And Taylor's very, very talented. Who's more talented, her or Kelce?
I don't think there's any question that she's
way more talented.
And she has more money.
Yes, she does.
Absolutely. Tyler, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon on BYUtv. And
thanks, Tyler.
And one of the best
see you next
that
week,
BYU's
brother.
ever produced. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good to have
Thanks, guys.
Tyler on.
Good night.
I learn a lot of the new sayings whenever Tyler comes.